Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call to order the Sacramento Regional Transit Board meeting for Monday, May 8th, 2017. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Director Budge? Here. Director Hanson and Harris are marked as being absent. Director Hume? Here. Director Jennings? Here. Director Kennedy? Here. Director Miller? Director Natoli? Director Chenier? Director Cerna? Chair Morin.
Here.
With that, we have a quorum at 95 votes. This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, and will be streamed live on RT's website. Tonight's meeting will air on Wednesday, May 10th at 6 p.m. and replayed on Thursday, May 11th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14 and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. It is also closed caption. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to me or Adam. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. We would appreciate everyone turning off their cell phones. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Cindy. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item of the day.
The next item is public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
Okay, I do have a couple of members wishing to address the board. We'll start with Russell Rawlings. If somebody could get Russell some sound there.
Adam?
And after Russell will be Cheryl Busby.
I don't know if that's a 2 or 3. Yes.
Hi, my name's Russell Rawlings. I live in the North Oak Park area. I am a member of Sacramento Transit Riders Union, SAC-TRU. We are here tonight to learn a little bit about what's going on, and we meet every Saturday from 1 to 3 at Organized Sacramento, 1714 Broadway. And we would encourage anyone who is interested in learning about how to effectively express their voice and affect change to join us on Saturdays.
Great. Thank you, Russell. Cheryl? Cheryl Busby.
Hello, good evening, Chair Morin and board members. So we have an opportunity to work with Sutter Health Foundation and Sierra Health Foundation in what's considered a high five initiative where they look at the social determinants of health. And public transportation is one of those. So as we move forward with looking for funding for making this transit system better than it currently is, there are possibilities in engaging with them, and I invite you to contact Carrie Thomas at Sutter Health for further information on how to create this partnership with them and create a better transit system for Sacramento.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl. Let's see, Cheryl, we have Jeffrey Tartagia. Jeffrey?
Jeff Tartagia. The first thing, unfortunately, I don't have Phil, so I'm going to go to Patrick and say, Patrick, I don't know whether I'm going to make the STA meeting this coming Thursday. I'm hoping I'm getting enough people there to discuss to you about Measure B. The other thing is Patrick, do you cover the I-80, or is that Phil Cerna here as far as constituent areas? Yes? Okay, I Friday took the bus 15 up and discovered that the elevators were down again at I-80, and heard the riders tell me that it's been down repeatedly a number of times. I don't know if it's back up today yet, but I've heard that both of them have been down in the past month. And this is one of the things that I encouraged that last year, that you put a bus shuttle on your budget item, because that's probably last year exceeded $200,000 in using the shuttle service, because as many times it was broken down. I believe last year, should we say Henry Lee made, when he discovered it, made a strenuous effort to see about getting this fixed. The other thing on that part of the comment I will offer you is that it seems like every time we do a new contract, there's a couple of months that it takes for the vendor to understand what they have to fix at the I-80 elevators, because it does have a consistent, and it's an item that I'm going to bring up when the $25 million on the light rail issue of why in the specific special funding, when you guys spent downtown, that still is not fixed. The other thing I will focus on is communication. Internally, I've been trying externally to encourage that comments come back, because emails don't necessarily clarify things. Thank you, Henry, for last Saturday when I expressed an accident. And the accident was I spilled over down by the Tower Theater, and unfortunately had a driver number for the rider 51 that would not open the doors. For everybody that was outside, all they saw was that a disability rider could not get on bus 51. Now, to me, I stressed, that's a training thing that needs to go on. What she should have said is that the bus was full, and 15 minutes later, I got on another bus, and that's fine. But this is something that's been known among some of the community, that there is an issue that goes on through there. The problem is that to the public, that's what they saw. And again, with it just being emails, that wasn't clear. So I've learned that I say, call me so you get clarification on the emails. I could go in the Connect card, but that took Casey here last meeting after a month customer service back and forth, 2 days talking, it got fixed.
All right. Thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks for the observations. Let's see. That is all I have on business from the floor. So with that, next item, please.
Consent calendar items 1 through 5.
Okay, I do have requests to address the board on items 2 and 3. So 1, 4, and 5 are in order.
Move approval.
Okay, moved by Director Budge, seconded by Director Hume. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right.
Motion carries at 95 votes.
Okay, consent
that can't-
calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, consent calendar item number 2.
Item number 2, resolution approving the Sacramento Regional Transit District Title VI program update. And James Drake is here to answer any questions.
Okay, and we have Russell Rawlings wishing to address on this item, and after Russell is Sarah Kerber. So Russell, can we get Russell the microphone? Good evening again, Russell.
Good evening. My name is Russell Rawlings. Again, I am a member of Sacramento Transit Riders Union and a board member of Organized Sacramento. And I am extremely concerned that we are heading down the pathway of misleading the FTA on the Title VI analysis, again, given that the fare transfers were brought back for a very, very select population. SAC-TRU demands free transfers for all riders. We encourage RT to treat cash fare paying customers equally. Everyone should be able to enjoy the newly reinstated transfers. All discounts and fare categories should be available to everyone, not only English literate customers who have access to the technology. Treat fare fairly. Stop the digital divide.
Okay, thank you, Russell. Sarah?
Hi, my name is Sarah Kerber. I'm with SAC-TRU, and we just had a couple of comments on the Title VI update, similar to what we spoke about last week or 2 weeks ago at the last board meeting. I want to thank you and staff for continuing to update our Title VI program and to review it, and for your efforts on installing benches at the stations. You guys have done a great job. I think there's only 5 benches left on your list to go, so that's great. We would like to, again, restate that we believe the 90-minute transfer should be available for all fares, not just the Connect cards and the fares through the app. There are some problems with those. Not everybody has access to a bank account. Not everybody has access to a credit card. Not everybody has access to a smartphone. Not everybody can access the app in English. So we would encourage RT to look at making those 90-minute transfers available to all fares, including cash fares. Last board meeting, Supervisor Natoli expressed his concerns about the transfer inequity during the meeting and asked staff to continue to work so that cash paying customers could receive the 90-minute benefit as well. Yep, so I guess thank you so much for your time,
All right.
and that's all I have today.
Great, thank you, Sarah, and we're working on that. So with that, that concludes folks wanting to speak on that item, so I'll go ahead and move consent item 2.
Second.
Okay, moved, seconded by Director Jennings. Please call the roll, or all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Motion carries at 95 votes.
Okay, and item 3 on consent.
Item number 3, resolution approving the amended and restated agreement for California State University Sacramento Student and Employee Group Transit Pass Program. And Brent Berniker is here to answer any questions or
Okay,
blame Nancy.
Jeffrey Tartagia, and after Jeffrey's Helen O'Connell.
My question, if you look at the page that goes through there, you have, and hopefully Brett can answer this, is you have, I believe, 23, shall we say, thousand, our estimate for 1 year. You have 46 the next year, and then you got 23 for the following year. So I'm curious as why did that single year in the middle of this 5-year agreement change so radically? That's the question, you know, I mean, back and forth. I didn't see an explanation for it and would like one.
Okay, thanks. Jeffrey, do you see what he's talking about there, Brent? Okay, so we'll have Brent answer for you.
Oh, right. So the estimates that we put on the fiscal impact are fluctuating based on estimated ridership numbers, so that could explain those changes.
Okay. Okay, so Helen, can we get Helen some sound there?
Yes, we're multitasking.
Okay. You're doing a good job at it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Helen.
Good evening. Jeff kind of took my question. It seems that there's a difference from 26,000 to 42,000, and then it goes back down to 26,000. And it just seems odd that it would be exactly doubled, that 2018 would be doubled from the rest of the years. It just stands out and brings up questions. And I'm not sure if the number of riders would really justify that change.
Right, and I think it's important to, you know, Brett addressed that, but what we're looking at there is a difference, so that number is really relatively small in comparison to the estimated revenue numbers there. Again,
it's on projections. These, when we first present the issue paper with the original contract, the original contract was based on estimated ridership times the 50% of the single ride fare. So there's many reasons why ridership can go up and down. We rely on the information that we get based on those estimates, and there could be service changes and incorporated in those ridership results. So that's the big difference. Again, these were estimates. It doesn't mean they're going to come true. The actual is what we book.
okay,
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
okay, great, thanks, Brent. Okay, no other requests to address this item, so I'll go ahead and move consent item 3.
Second.
Seconded by Director Budge. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Motion carries at 100 votes.
All right. Next item, please.
Next item is the general manager's report, item number 6.
Take it away, Henry.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and the public. On April 28th, Governor Brown signed SB 1, a landmark transportation funding package that is the culmination of more than 2 years of strong leadership by Senator Transportation and Housing Committee Chair Jimmy Bill and Assembly Transportation Committee Chair Jimmy Fraser. The $5.24 billion annual funding package, which generates new revenues from various taxes and fees, is designed to repair and maintain our state highways and local roads, improve our trade corridors, and support public transit. Even though the SB 1 provides only minimal funding for transit, it is still a positive step forward. On federal side, last week, Congress passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2017 to fund the federal government through the end of September 2017. The act provides a funding level of $9.7 billion for mass transit programs, which is a flat or slightly more funding than last year. And that is good news too. The act or bill includes $50 million in fiscal year 17 for the Sacramento Downtown Riverside Streetcar Project. Future fiscal year appropriations are expected if a full funding grant agreement can be signed by FTA later this year. However, to secure the $100 million from the federal government for this region, Sacramento region has to secure the remaining $25 million local match for the $200 million small start grant funding agreement. The streetcar project management team, consisting of representatives from 2 cities, City of Sacramento and the City of West Sacramento, SACOG and RT. The team has requested that RT commit $25 million of RT's Prop 1A fund to this project for a long time. RT is a responsible regional partner, and to fully promote the transparency and open discussion, after working with the streetcar project management team, we put an informational-only issue paper tonight to brief board and the public with the streetcar project history, project funding status, and Prop 1A funding history. The third topic I would like to brief is the progress of strategic vision, RT's strategic vision. Following the release of the proposed RT strategic vision on February 27, 2017, we launched an effective outreach campaign to share information with the community regarding our comprehensive transformations, strategic initiatives, funding challenges, and opportunities for community engagement. We have provided over 20 community presentations so far. Actually, today, Mr. Chairman and I spoken on the Valley Vision Board meeting. The feedback was very good. And we target neighborhood groups, business improvement districts, and other community organizations. We work together with them. By doing so, we'd like to work with the region on what will be required to create a world-class public transportation system in our region. As we share our brochure, named, we call it A New SAC-RT Moves the Region, and the presentation with different community groups and in different regional publications. We are also encouraging citizens to complete SAC-RT's online community survey. The results of this survey will be used to build ideas surrounding public transportation expansion priorities for the region and help our route optimization study down the road. The attached PowerPoint presentation provides more information regarding the survey results so far. So, Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would like to ask Laura and Deborah to go through this presentation at this moment.
All right, very good.
Good evening, Chair Moran and the RT members of the board. Over the past month, RT staff has been sharing information regarding our strategic vision, and as part of that process, we included a survey component. The survey is not to be confused with the community input for our major route optimization study. However, it does provide an opportunity to create awareness about the upcoming study. The survey asks residents what they think about the current SAC-RT bus and light rail system, why they ride public transit in Sacramento or in other cities, and what changes would bring the most value to their daily lives. The survey is still active and we expect to close it by the end of the month. Although this survey has been primarily promoted online, we are offering an option for people to respond via phone if they need any assistance, including foreign language translation or interpretation services. We are conducting a separate rider survey later this week that will be offered in English and Spanish with a call-in option for other languages. Goals of our survey are to spread the message that SAC-RT, and at SAC-RT we are committed to serving the region with affordable, accessible, reliable, and world-class service. Our strategic priorities are customers first, a clean, safe, and convenient customer experience, building stronger partnerships, system-wide route optimization, and financial stability. We intentionally targeted the survey through electronic ads to reach a broader audience. In addition to our riders, we wanted to reach the general public who may not ride RT and find out what may or may not make them riders in the future. We targeted key search terms on Google display ads for people reading articles about traffic or transportation, or people visiting prominent regional sites so that they would see the ads. Additionally, we have been promoting the survey through various other earned, owned, and paid media. A special thank you to our board members for including that information in your district newsletters. That's really been a huge help. What's interesting is the fact that such a high percentage of respondents are active voters, and many respondents are also riders. Over the next month, we will print and deliver flyers to the libraries and community centers to make sure that we reach community members that may not have access to computers and or smartphones. And now Laura Ham, VP of Accountability and Performance, will walk you through the survey highlights.
All right, thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Evening, Laura.
Good evening, Chair Moran and directors. So tonight we're providing you with the results of the survey to date. As Deborah mentioned, it's not closed yet, and we'll provide you with an update upon closing the survey. It's important to note that the responses have not been tested for statistical validity or demographic representation at this time. The survey is still open to all interested participants, although we have had over 2,000 responses so far. So the first question focuses on what would make RT service an option or a better option for travel in the region. The respondent ranks options on a scale of not important at all to very important. Based on a weighted average of results, increased frequency and coverage, including earlier and later service, are rising to the top as most important, followed by safety, cleanliness, and reliability. Lower fares and shorter travel times are also important to respondents. This is consistent with what nationwide studies show, that people are more likely to ride transit if it is convenient, frequent, and they can easily walk to and from transit service. The next question asks respondents what improvements or amenities would be most important if RT had additional funding for growth. Again, respondents were able to rank a number of options on a scale of not important at all to very important, and we tallied a weighted average. Out of 10 items, the items that have ranked the highest priorities in our results so far are expanding coverage of light rail and bus to serve new or underserved areas, with 82% of respondents ranking that as important or very important. Increasing light rail and bus routes that operate on 15 and 30-minute frequencies is also at 82%, followed closely by real-time information, improved security, span of service, more early and late and weekend service, and bus connections, including more connections between neighborhood buses and light rail and easy transfers. Survey options for this next question were focused towards improving the overall system for all riders in the community, providing options to direct increased funding to various projects or customer service initiatives, such as extending light rail to the airport or Elk Grove, free student and senior fares, free Wi-Fi, and emission-free fleet, etc. So again, they were able to rank the options on a scale of not important at all to very important. And the most respondents at 83% found free transfers very important or important, followed by light rail to the airport at 80%, free rides for seniors 75 and older at 65%, central city or zone fares at 64%, and low-floor light rail vehicles at 63%. This shows the number of respondents at 73%, noticing experiencing increased congestion on the roads in the last year. And a few other highlights: 72% of respondents have used the RT system. Similarly, 75% have used transit in other cities. And when asked why they chose transit, 59% said it was because it was easy and convenient. 74% of respondents also said that they were able to use a car for most of their trips. Our respondents so far are primarily using RT to get to work. "94% indicated the region's public transportation system, so that's adding up the two main categories here, was important or very important. The next few slides provide demographic information. Most respondents were between 35 and 54 years old, consistent with most respondents using transit to get to work. Fairly even split between male and female respondents. The vast majority of respondents so far said they are registered to vote and that they voted in the last election. 70% stated they are employed full-time. This slide here shows the ethnicity of respondents. 66% of respondents said they identified as white or Caucasian, 7% African American, 9% Spanish, Hispanic, or Latino, 7% Asian or Pacific Islander, 9% other, and 2% American Indian or Alaska Native. So we have not conducted a full analysis of the demographic results, but these responses are fairly close to our most recently available county-wide ethnicity data. Our rider survey will give us an opportunity to reach populations represented in RT's ridership more specifically. As Deborah mentioned, we'll be starting a rider survey on the system later this week, over the next weekend, where we'll actually target RT riders. Our additional outreach will also assist us in reaching populations that may have not yet responded, including individuals with limited English proficiency and minority groups. So this slide shows where we've had the highest percentage of respondents in certain neighborhoods, the highest number being 212 in Land Park and Puckett, followed by South Natomas, Midtown, and South Sacramento. In summary, we see that the pool of respondents values public transportation and that they have three major requests: more coverage, more frequency, and more early, late, and weekend service. Providing more information about enhancements that will continue to improve the Sacramento Regional Transit System and incorporating community feedback will help us continue to build support for our goals. So thank you, and we have the full survey team here tonight if you have any questions.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Any questions for Laura or Deborah?
Yeah, brief question.
Okay, Linda.
We've all been asked why the survey, the online survey, was not in other languages, or not available in other languages, but I think Deborah said something about the fact that it might be.
Yes, so we have a telephone translation service available, so there's information transcribed into other languages indicating
so
a
it's-
phone number to call to get assistance.
Okay, so, but is that on the Survey Monkey, or do you simply have had to have called in order to find that out?
You'll have to call in. It's also on our website at the very bottom of our website. When you go to the main page for communities, it lists all the different languages and it tells you in other languages how to call and get that information.
Okay,
So we have an interpreter that will go back and forth with the
Sure.
questions and answer in any language that you need.
but there was no, because I took the survey, okay, and there's no way to have that kind of a link on Survey Monkey?
I will check.
Actually, in the survey itself.
If we can do that, we will go ahead and do that by tomorrow. I will check. You want to answer that?
Yeah, we,
Okay.
just make sure you repeat the answer
Do you
there.
want to come up here?
So the site that's been shared across the multiple platforms directs people back to a landing page rather than directly to the survey page, and that includes the directions on how to access the information in other languages.
Okay. I mean, it's always a concern in our city, and quite frankly, everybody has somewhere between 60 and 80 languages spoken in their high schools. So, interestingly, in Washington, we just saw a presentation by Valley Vision where their demographics came up really, or the demographics of what the topic was, came about very similar to what you have here, except that we all agreed that in some of our communities, that's not our demographics. So if there were an easier way for people who speak other languages to access a translator, your numbers might change.
Yes, and we'll go ahead and see what we can do about actually placing it or links on the survey. In the meantime, we have means to get that information in other languages so people can access it, and we know that's very important. Oddly tonight, we do have the Title VI report, and we have a very thorough public participation plan as part of that, so we're very aware, and we've been doing that for years.
Super.
Okay.
Thank you.
And when we launch our route optimization survey or study, we will make sure you even do better. And this time, this is for the survey about our surveys, even not for the route optimization yet.
I just wanted to add one thing to that response. Well, two things actually. So we translated into our top 6 languages that we know
Right.
is representative of our ridership. Our language line service does have, I think, over 300 different languages available. The rider survey that we'll be conducting later this week will have available actually a written version translated into Spanish, and we'll also have a card that we're handing out that will be translated into those top languages with the phone number to call.
Super. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a request to speak on this item. Jeffrey Tartagia. Jeffrey?
Whoops.
All
Which
set.
are we on?
General Manager's Report.
For you board members, you've heard me talk before about the new layout on light rails. I have sent in some pictures, and this is to Mark Lonigan. I say is I like the new layout for the both buses, shall we say, on the light rail for the electric, shall we say, wheelchairs, and that you've separated so that you in effect could put strollers and carts. It's taken 5 years, but it looks like a very effective layout. I've given, through customer advocacy, pictures to Cindy, and hopefully you guys might look and see or get on one of the, shall we say, light rails that show that. I think it's very important, and it's something that RT's come up with, as well as I will offer this last weekend, that the service alerts were very effective that I saw on there in very good detail. The commentary on it is you made it for the iPhone, so as an Android device, I only can read the top.
All right, thank you, Jeffrey. All right, that concludes item 6. Under public hearing, next item, please.
Item number 7, accept public comment on the Sacramento Regional Transit District preliminary fiscal year 2018 operating and capital budgets. In front of you is item A, accept public comment, and B, motion to continue the public hearing to June 12th, 2017, and David Goldman is here to present.
All right, good evening, David.
Good evening. I just want to make a statement, really. We don't actually have a presentation that's any different than what we did last month. But we'd like to seek input on the draft fiscal year 18 preliminary budget. We would like to take any comments regarding this budget. However, in addition, we'd like to conduct a few open houses in which we cover the budget document and answer further questions that may arise. We understand the public is seeking more details on the budget, and therefore, we will provide further details to those interested at those meetings.
Okay, great. And so you could conduct those obviously before the June 12th potential adoption of the budget then?
Yes.
All right, thanks, David. So questions for David related to any of the budget information that we saw previously and is in our agenda packet? So I do have one request to speak on this item. Sarah Kerber. Is Sarah here? Good evening again, Sarah.
Good evening. Sarah Kerber with SACTRU. So we reviewed at our meeting this past Saturday the 26-page abridged budget for fiscal year 2018 that's provided. And we want to thank the RT staff for coming to Organize Sacramento a couple months ago and providing a training on how the budget process works. It's very complicated, so the more trainings, the better. Last year, during the budget process, I commented and requested that RT staff provide more training similar to what Sacramento City Council provides, where the mayor and the city council member go out into the community that they represent and provide a training and answer any questions and go over the budget. So I'm glad to see that that is going to be happening in the next month before the June 12th deadline. And in the reason I bring that up again is because in the item number 7, staff noted that there have been no public comments made, no questions submitted to staff about the budget. And I just would encourage RT staff to continue to provide more community engagement so that the budget process is meaningful. One other request that we did come up with at our meeting on Saturday was a more detailed budget than the budget currently provided to the public and to the board. 26 pages is not very detailed. One of the graphs, the one for capital improvements, looks like a giant P. It doesn't really give that much information. So we would like a line item budget made available to the public and made available to the board. As I said, RT's preliminary budget is 26 pages, and just comparing the budget proposals that other transit agencies provide, LA Metro's was 60 pages, San Diego's was 136 pages, TriMet's was 269 pages, Sacramento City's was 341 pages, which is crazy, but I believe 26 pages is not enough space to provide enough information to the board and to the community members of the public with how money is being used by RT, and I just would like more involvement with the community. So, and thank you.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So we will work on weaving some more detail into the presentations when Brent and David get to those. So, very good. So that is all I had on this. So entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to June 12th.
So moved.
Okay, move that, Director Miller, and seconded by Director Jennings. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Motion carries at 100 votes.
Okay.
Next item, item number 8, repealing and restating criteria for property naming and corporate sponsorships naming rights. And before you are 2 options. A, resolution, repealing resolution 0510-0176 and restating criteria for property naming and corporate sponsorship naming rights, or a motion to continue this item to May 22nd, 2017 board meeting. And before you is Deborah Salinas.
Great. Good evening, Deborah.
Good evening again. Tonight I'm proposing an expansion to RT's light rail station naming rights guidelines. On August 22nd, 2016, the board approved the release of requests for proposals for light rail vehicle and station advertising services and delegated authority to the general manager or CEO to award, which included an addendum for station naming rights and an additional revenue source. In January 2017, RT awarded the contract for station naming rights negotiation services to Superlative Group. Over the past 3 months, Superlative Group has been gathering data to develop a draft evaluation report, and tonight I would like to share key information in an effort to support the adoption of enhanced property naming and corporate sponsorship naming rights criteria. In 2005, the board adopted a resolution adopting criteria for naming stations, which authorized the general manager or CEO to name light rail stations based on one or more of the following approved criteria: nearest street intersection, major cross street, geographic location, area landmark, permanence of name, and well recognized. If light rail line naming rights were sold for the Blue Line, Green Line, and Gold Line, Superlative Group estimates that RT could generate up to $33 million in total revenue for the life of the term, which is typically 25 years for each light rail line agreement. Furthermore, light rail stations located near major corporate employers and city attractions can generate between $25,000 and $35,000 for each station annually. Each asset would have a different market value based on the number of impressions, ridership, and demographics, as well as a number of other valuation factors. In recent years, Superlative Group has been working to expand traditional scope of naming rights and corporate sponsorships. Transit agencies such as RT are turning to the private sector to help overcome shrinking budgets by selling naming rights of transit assets. The table on screen provides examples of successful transit naming rights sponsorships. Some include Barclays Bank agreed to purchase the naming rights to a Brooklyn subway station for $4 million over a 20-year period in conjunction with a sporting arena development. SEPTA secured a 5-year agreement for $5 million with AT&T. In San Diego, the Blue Line naming was sold to the University of San Diego for $30 million for a 30-year term. Here's an example of how those names appear on signage. As you can see, the naming maintains either the geographic location or the original line name so that customers can easily navigate the system. Under the expanded criteria that staff is recommending the board approve, renaming will be considered when a potential sponsor has a geographic, historic, or other connection to a station that would be obvious to RT customers. No sponsorship will be approved unless the proposed sponsorship name is part of a street name or well-known destination that has a strong nexus to an RT asset. Examples of what that could look like here in Sacramento include Golden One Center, 7th and Capitol Station, SMUD's 65th Street Station, or the Kaiser Blue Line, which operates medical facilities throughout RT's service district. In order to provide direction to Superlative Group and maximize RT's revenue opportunities, staff is recommending that board approve an expansion of the naming rights criteria. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Just one quick question for me,
Sure.
Deborah. Would these naming recommendations come back to the board then?
So anything that would be outside of a regional asset or a nexus to a station is like kind of these examples here, they would absolutely come back. Let's say Coca-Cola, for some reason, wanted to name a line or a station, we would absolutely bring that back to the board for approval.
All right, thank
And that's part of the criteria.
Okay, so questions for Deborah? Director Cerna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So appreciate the presentation. If I understand from the issue paper correctly, that the Superlative Group is suggesting that there might be close to $70 million on the table based on naming right potential for both lines and stations over 25 years?
If we sold every single asset that we had.
What were some of the assumptions made about the value of the naming for this particular district, not looking at what other districts did and how much revenue they generated, but looking at the potential here?
They looked at demographics, they looked at number of impressions. For example, they found that the Blue Line actually had a higher value than the Gold Line or the Green Line. They looked at a number of factors, different kinds, employment, eyes, impressions, ridership, and all of that makes a difference in the numbers of what the value is. And again, these are only estimates. We're still in a draft. It may change.
It just seems like an awful lot of revenue to think hypothetically is just out there to be had, some low-hanging fruit, if you will. That's why I asked the question. And it seems like in other areas you have other geographic identifiers that are pretty obvious, whether they be corporate centers, long lines. And again, because the uniqueness of our district and the geography of where our lines and our stations lie, I'm not so sure how well the geography of our system lends itself to maximizing that revenue potential as opposed to what, you know, other systems have been able to achieve elsewhere.
Yeah, and if you look at the numbers, it's actually, ours would be relatively low compared to many other major cities. And they, as I said, they look at demographics, they look at the types of businesses, employers, and they make that determination. And again, until they go out and actually start selling it, you really don't know. This is in a draft. I expect that they would come back probably within the next month with a final report.
And did they give you any initial feedback about how this works in a capital city where your principal employer is state government versus corporate employment?
I believe that's why the numbers are a little bit lower than like San Diego.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I just want to clarify, Director Serna mentioned is 70 million sounds like a lot, but that is for 30 years.
Right.
So
Well,
each
25
year
and 10. Yeah.
it's about 2 million. Actually, we would be very happy if we get 1 million. each year.
Thanks, Henry. Director Budge, followed by Director Tully.
Yeah, so I would add to, add my comments to Supervisor Cerna's concern. And take it a little bit further, there was a lot of thought given to the names when the system was first established, and some things are very logical. So just for instance, on a practical note, everybody knows one of the benefits of light rail is the fact that it's a fixed guideway.
Correct.
And you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to get where you want to go. But if you take something like Wat Manlove, which is so expressive, and I suppose you say, Tykert Wat Manlove, does that still communicate the same directions? Does it still communicate as clearly as it has before? That would be a concern. There's a lot of stations that are like that. They're named specifically because of where you're going to get off and what's there. But I'm also concerned about the few that we have that are named for very specific reasons, such as Mill Station or Cordova Town Station. It would be very difficult to change those. Mill Station because it's historic, Cordova Town because that's where you are. They dropped you in the middle of Cordova Town Station.
And it would still retain that name. It would just have a different corporate name or agency name on the front side of that.
Well, and I could see BJ wanting to call it Cordova Town KP International. Okay? He's like that. But I love the concept, and I understand Henry's point. If it brings up only $1 million, it's worth exploring, especially when we have significant new things like the Golden One Center.
Correct.
Don?
Yeah, I guess my comment goes to that, this is beyond exploring. We're going to basically give authority, if we approve this evening, for the general manager, certainly seeking guidance under the criteria, but if, I guess, guidance as relates to any solid proposal. A couple things occur to me. One is that this is certainly no longer just name a station for a place or geography and so forth. We're now selling a name for a station that's an appropriate name. And so it's a little different. Obviously, there's income related to that. And I do think that at least my view, that ought to come to this board. Again, we're the ones that are asked to approve the budget. Certainly you're given authorities, Henry and Deborah and others, under that budget authority that comes with that. But this is a little different because this has some permanency to it. It's 20 or 25 years if that's the term of the agreement. So I do think that this board should be the final approval on that. And I do also, if we embark on this, which I trust we're going to, is that the valuation and whether it's undervalued, overvalued, I think that's a consideration because, again, I don't know that you're going to have people, rushing the doors tomorrow if we approve this to say, me first. I trust it's probably not going to be the case either. But I do think that we ought to have some sense of that because the market may change over time. And I just think, we've got too much has gone into investment in the system in public dollars. We want to support that, obviously, with some appropriately named, if we do this, private, assigning some private interest to that. Obviously, they're buying advertising and, a place and name recognition for whatever that means to their particular business or establishment. So, again, I'm not opposed to it, but I think that ought to be reserved by this board. Now, others may see it differently. Again, I trust Henry and whoever's in that position, certainly Deborah and others, and, we're going to use good judgment and good taste. And that's embedded in what you've just presented. But I do believe that if we're going to assign a name to a particular location that already has an identifiable name with it, that we ought to have the ability to say yes or no, and certainly you can seek that information early on, but you certainly can't get any board action unless you bring it before this body, so.
I think that's our intention.
Okay, but that's not what the
Bring to the
resolution
board.
says. That's not what the resolution says, Henry. It says seek guidance.
We need
Well,
to change that.
we can change that, yeah.
Well, I know you can, but that wasn't the way it was presented, so I know
Well-
you can change it if we direct it. I
Well-
understand it, Deborah. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, interestingly enough, the criteria before I came tonight
Yep.
actually had that as the general manager.
It did, but you weren't selling the name. There wasn't that authority previously, right?
There actually was. I think it's just the criteria changed slightly. That's what I'm bringing tonight.
So there was authority. Have we done that at any location?
We
No,
haven't
no.
sold anything yet.
Hold on.
Oh.
I think the authority you give to me is to hire that firm.
Yes.
Help us. So that is authority. But in terms of what names, what change we're going to make, actually, in my mind, is we need to go back to the board to ask a board approval, whatever new names will be. So sorry about that confusion. We need to, if you can propose a little bit of change on the current resolution, that would be really appreciated.
Well, let me just be clear though, because I don't want to misstate it, but I didn't understand that there was previous authority vested with the general manager or staff to actually take a name and for a price and attach that without some prior board action. Is there a difference?
Well, if you look at the resolution in 2005,
Yeah, I'm looking at
it
it.
had the same information, although we didn't move forward with a proposal for selling station naming rights.
Right. I mean, the concept wasn't that we were going to sell it.
Correct,
'Cause I remember
correct.
when we did the 4th Avenue station, we did.
You
quite a bit of
followed the
sta-
same
Yeah, right,
criteria.
but it was naming after a particular person.
Correct.
Contributed to transit in our community and so forth. You want to
Correct.
recognize that. But we weren't in the mode of.
Selling.
Selling.
Correct.
I guess that's the distinction I wanted
Right.
to make here, so. Okay, thanks.
Director Hume?
Thank you. I think this is a good discussion. I'm glad that it's going to be coming back with greater detail. Every time I've recalled discussing this, and I think this is kind of to where Director Natoli was mentioning this, we were talking about wrapping the vehicles and advertising on the assets, not necessarily selling the names to the assets. I don't have a lot of heartburn with the idea of selling the station names, but I do with selling the actual line names. And for myriad reasons, not the least of which is I think it would generate a certain level of confusion if you have the Kaiser Blue line and the Intel Gold line and the whatever else green line. That just, I don't see you're getting the value out of that if you even had a buyer, and then what if you only sell one line and now so I think you're creating more problems than we're potentially solving there. But then the other thing, I do believe it should come back to the board, and it's going to create a pretty slippery slope for us, because what if a certain security contractor had come to us and bought a station rights, and we're locked into a 25-year.
Well,
I'm just saying there's a lot.
That's
of
a good
things
point.
people
Then
get
that's
their-
why we would bring that back to the
Yeah.
board. Yeah.
So I'm willing to explore it, but I do think that it needs to be vetted pretty thoroughly.
Okay.
So Director Hume, what if the blue line we change, just hypothetically, change to Elk Grove /Blue Line?
I can tell you we don't have $30 million in our budget.
That's for all three lines.
Okay, okay, we're good. Okay, any other commentary? So I guess what I'm hearing is probably the best thing to do, based on the comments you heard, is just bring it back. So
Okay.
it, so hopefully you got
So
us.
I'll move that we continue the item to the 22nd of May and ask staff to do a little more research and make some amendments.
Okay.
And I'm with Director Natoli. Neither the original 2005 resolution nor this current resolution actually says anything about selling. So if that's what we intend, this is one of those times where we need to make sure that the direction we're giving staff that will be on the books in 10 years is as clear in 10 years as it is for those of us who were here in the meeting today. We don't want there to be confusion.
Okay, so item 8B, the motion to continue to May
Andy,
22nd.
can I say
Yes, you bet, Director Senior.
Thanks. I'll be brief, but I think we also need to be careful looking at it from the other side. If we're going to be working with businesses who want to potentially purchase a right of naming at one of these things, what I also don't think we should get into is getting down the road with somebody where we've put months into negotiation, as has the business, and then the board, for whatever reason, decides we don't want to do that. That's not negotiating in good faith, and I think that could present some problems. My suggestion, Deborah, would be, and I won't be here on the 22nd, but my suggestion would be that we get as specific as possible in the criteria. I think we could get a lot more fleshed out than you are now, with examples of it, so that you have guidelines and examples that you can go with as you're potentially negotiating with people. That would make it much less likely that the board would want to overturn something. So I just want to be careful on that. We certainly need the revenue over time. We'll continue to work with Elk Grove to get their budget healthier to buy it from there. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
And would that be a second on Linda's motion?
Sure.
Okay. So any other comments? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion and second signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
Motion carries at 100 votes. Next item is item number 9, resolution establishing fair paid zones at all light rail stations, presented by Tim Spangler.
Right. Good evening, Tim.
Good evening. I'm really just the ghostwriter for Captain Leong on this one, but I'll be real brief. The paid fare zones is an idea that had been percolating around for a while and offered up by a peer review panel and a business advisory panel, and we adopted the concept in 2015, and then put it into play with 6 pilot stations, which basically what they allow us to do is folks that are in this paid fare zone, we come up and talk to them and ask them if they've purchased fare, and if they haven't, we direct them to the fare machine. If they are not intending to use the system, then they're asked to leave this zone. It makes it easier for folks to board. There's less people not using the system crowding around within the zone. It makes it safer, and it also allows us to pre-check folks for fare, which takes some of the burden off in our open system of having to check fare always on the train. So we were just coming here tonight to get the board's approval to open it up so that we can adopt these zones at all of the light rail stations and begin enforcing that once we have appropriate signage.
All right, great. Sounds prudent. Any questions for Tim? Okay, I have no request to speak on this item.
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, moved by Director Budge, seconded by Director Cerna. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Motion carries at 100 votes. Next item, item number 10, motion, waive the first reading of ordinance 170501, amending Title 15 of RT's Administrative Code, prohibition of specified acts committed in or on RT vehicles or facilities, to amend the definitions of inspector, paid fare zone, and proof of fare payment, and to prohibit loitering in light rail stations during non-revenue hours, presented by Tim Spangler.
Okay.
I'm back again. What we've learned from using our prohibited acts ordinance and our paid fare zones, we've had some experiences that have suggested that we make some modifications. One is, with regard to the paid fare zone, we're finding that the station geography itself lends to a fairly well-established zone. We don't think it's going to be very confusing to people whether they're in the zone or not, especially after we've added signage to the additional stations. So we don't think the striping is necessary in order to make that happen. We were planning on using the natural barriers at the station to justify that zone. The other thing is, and I think I mentioned it perhaps in the last topic, is that this is not a citation generator for RT. We're not out to cite people for being in the zone. We're out to make sure that people who are in the zone are planning on using the system and are on their way to purchasing fare. So if you were to get a little confused and you're standing in the area and you don't plan on using the system, the transit agent would approach you and say, hey, this is a fare paid zone, and the person would be given the opportunity to just take themselves out of the zone. So that's one of the issues. The other one is that we've had situations where folks are trying to stay within the station at the end of the service day. So we're making a clarification to say, even if you've purchased fare for the next morning, that doesn't allow you at 1 a.m. to sleep in the station until the next train runs. So that was sort of a loophole that was discovered. So that would be to close that loophole. With regard to another loophole has to do with our proof of fare payment. We're a proof of fare system, which you would think would implicitly mean that you have to show your fare to the transit officer. There's some people that have indicated that they have fare, but they just refuse to show it. So we are strengthening that language a little bit just to make it clear that upon request you need to show your actual proof of fare to the officer. And then the changing of the definition of inspector. Initially, when we wrote this up, we had a requirement in there that anyone that had the inspector title at RT had Penal Code 832 training. It's actually not necessary for our transit agents to have that type of training. They're not considered in the same category as security officers. So a lot of the PC 832 training, as they call it, has to do with use of force and arrests and things like that. And we're not expecting our transit agents to do that. Our transit agents make calls for service when they run into that type of a situation. So those are the 4 areas that we are suggesting be amended in the Prohibited Acts Ordinance.
All right, great. Thanks, Tim. Questions for Tim on this item? Director Cerna?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions related to situations where, in the first one, it would be a situation like at 7th and Capitol, you have a lot of folks that are going to be, let's say, leaving a game. Has staff looked at how crowd congestion at a particular station might make it very difficult for us to keep separate those that have paid a fare versus those that haven't, in a situation where everyone's kind of scrambling to be near the platform ready to board a train?
So if I could answer that, during those larger events and stuff, we don't have the staffing and the ability to get through that crowd anyway, so they're more customer service oriented at that point to make sure that people know what train is arriving and to make sure that they spread out and purchase their fare. But really the fare paid zones are really for a train leaves and you have a group still standing there and it's not apparent why they're still standing there and did not board the train. And then at that point, we'll ask those people, have you purchased fare and that they're in a fare paid zone.
Okay, and then the second situation is, what about, and I think this varies station to station, what about these zones that will not be demarcated with paint, as I understand it, as they exist relative to shade structures or overhangs to keep you from getting wet during inclement weather? In other words, will there be any problems, Norm, with folks that haven't paid a fare yet, but they want to stay dry or want to get out of the sun?
So when they enter the zone, they'll be asked to go purchase fare. So if they purchase fare, they can move out of the zone or within the zone anywhere they want for shelter. The key is that we just don't want the loitering that's going on. And we think with the transit agent deployment that by checking fare before they board will reduce our fare evasion as well. And so, all those accommodations and considerations, we're going to ask our agents to have some discretion on, depending on the weather.
So it sounds like I appreciate that, thank you. It sounds like the inspectors in this case are going to be tasked with exercising a whole lot of common sense when it comes to this new protocol.
Yeah, and there's this transition we're going to have naturally because we're switching from guards to transit agents, and so there'll be a learning curve where we expect some decisions that might not be ideal, but that's our job to train them and make sure that they provide the best customer service.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Norm. Any other questions? I do have a couple of requests to speak on this item, so I'll call them up. So Tammy Drainer, and after Tammy is Coco Cocazel. Good evening, Tammy.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here and speak with you. On this issue, I do have a few concerns about this paid fare zone because regional transit property is public property. And my organization, Organized Sacramento, is planning a public survey. And we will not necessarily have passes, but we have the right to talk to people. And if you look at the ACLU's page on free speech zones, it actually names train stations outright. I don't want people selling me cell phone service. I don't want people harassing me either. So there's going to be a fine balance here. But I can tell you right now, if I'm there taking a public survey on public property, I'm not leaving. So the discretionary part is kind of what scares me about this. So we need to figure that out, figure the language out, give our officers all consistent training, and we're going to have to keep our eye on this one. That's what I think. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Tammy. Coco? Good evening.
Hey, good evening. Thank you. Coco Cocazella, citizen advocate. Notwithstanding what Tammy just said, because I think there could be a way to integrate that, but my proposal is to consider a proof of concept station whereby we could actually have a fully enclosed fare zone idea, which would be a way to evaluate a future for our transit system whereby we wouldn't have to necessarily have guards looking to people on the trains or in other parts of the system. Did you pay your fare? It would be fully enclosed like other large metropolitan areas. So if you enter that station, it means you have somehow gone through a turnstile or some sort of device with the intent of riding. It also speaks to safety, and it also can speak to unifying a system of payment and transfers, which I know we've come a long way on, but it would be a way for us to evaluate also at each station, or what would be the effect of having at a station all of the payment methods. For instance, right now with the I forget the name of the card, sorry. I have one and I totally forgot it. But anyway, with a card, you can't buy one at every station, for instance. So this would be a place where you could test having a vending machine there, as well as a turnstile or whatever type mechanism, safety, cleanliness, and fair, taken care of all in one step. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Coco. Okay, so I guess the operative word here is discretion, and I'm sure if somehow people aren't happy, we're going to hear about it at this board. So, but thanks, Norm, for that feedback. Okay, so with that, no other requests to speak on this item. Entertain a motion.
Approval.
Mr. Chair, I'll second the motion, but I just want to say, kind of from my standpoint, because I've been a big supporter of this concept going way back, I would very much like to have a more closed system where there are actual turnstiles or sliding doors or things that you have to go through, but that's a much larger task to undertake, both with the land you'd have to purchase and the capital improvements you'd have to do. The reality of this is for the folks that are there with good intentions, this is not why this zone is being created. It's being created as a tool to run off people who have no intention of getting on the buses or the trains and are just using our assets for nefarious purposes.
And if I may, I want to just remind you that you're just waiving the first reading of this ordinance.
Thank you. So move to waive the first reading by Director Budge and seconded by Director Hume. Any other questions, comments? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
Motion carries at 100 votes.
All right, next item, please.
Next item, item 11, information, discussion on RT participation in funding for the downtown Riverfront Streetcar Project, presented by Neil Nance and Brent Berniker, I believe.
All right, good evening, Neil.
Good evening, sir. Chair Moran, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to briefly share some background information regarding the streetcar project's general history and funding. Downtown Riverfront Streetcar Project is a 5.2-mile line that would extend from West Sacramento Civic Center to the Midtown Entertainment and Retail District in the city of Sacramento. The project proposes to procure 6 vehicles, streetcar vehicles. It also proposes 22 stops with 6 stops in West Sacramento. The streetcar project would be jointly owned by the cities of Sacramento and West Sacramento through a joint powers authority. RT, as the local grantee, will apply for the Small Starts Grant Agreement and, when successful, provide the funds for the project through a subrecipient agreement with the JPA. Preliminary discussions regarding the feasibility of a streetcar star line connecting West Sacramento and downtown Sacramento began in 2005. Support for that joint planning of a streetcar project was formalized in a board-approved 4-party memorandum of understanding between the City of Sacramento, City of West Sacramento, RT, and Yolo County Transportation District in April 2006. The MOU has been renewed 3 times since 2006. In 2009, renewal set forth an expanded policy steering committee that included downtown business owners. In 2013, SACOG was added to the partnership. And again in 2017, the MOU was renewed with the 5-party agreement, and the parties under the guidance of the policy steering committee have been diligently working on an interlocking set of governance agreements. A locally preferred alternative was approved in September of 2013, and in May of 2014, the streetcar project received FTA approval to enter project development under the Small Starts program. The cities at that point contracted with RT for design and construction management services. It is also anticipated that RT will contract to be the initial operator of the streetcar. The project obtained California Environmental Quality Act CEQA clearance in August of 2015, and with NEPA Environmental Policy Act, with the National Environmental Policy Act NEPA clearance following in February of 2016. The project team chose to revise the Small Starts grant ask from $75 million to $100 million based on changes to the grant program created through the Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, also known as the FAST Act, when it was signed by the President in December of 2015. The scope of the additions included: 1, moving light rail from K Street to 8th Street between 7th and 12th Streets to make K Street a more pedestrian-friendly, allow Blue Line access to the Sacramento Valley Station, and improve ADA accessibility with a new platform on H Street. It also provided a higher capacity service to Raleigh Field for special events. And thirdly, it extended streetcar service along Riverfront Street in West Sacramento. In April 2016, the project development phase continued with an award of a design service contract for Task 1. Task 1 included 85% design for the project. And then again in January of 2017, Tasks 2 through 4 were authorized. That included advanced design to 100%, provide design to relocate light rail from K Street to 8th Street, and provide site work design for the vehicle maintenance and service facility. The streetcar project management team has developed an aggressive schedule in an attempt to obtain FTA's Small Start Grants Agreement by year's end. With that, let's transition over to Mr. Brent Berger, our CFO, to discuss the project's budget.
All right, thank you, Neil.
All right, thank you, Neil. So at the last board meeting, there were some discussions about the Prop 1A funding and the streetcar project. So what we promised to do is bring it back as early as possible, and today we're here to discuss it. The best way to illustrate the funding sources is through this chart in front of you, this table in front of you. There's a couple of tables that I'll go through. This first table shows the project when it was projected to be $150 million. And now more recently it's at $200 million. So this first table shows $150 million, And this assumed that this was when the streetcar project was initially in the 2014 federal budget. As you know, with any small starts project with federal government, if there's a one-to-one match for the total of federal funds. So what we're going to be looking at is the first match, which is there's $25 million from the city of West Sacramento. The city of Sacramento would contribute $7 million. The county of Sacramento, $3 million. There was state funding of about $10 million, and there was a proposed parcel tax of about $30 million. And all of these funding sources with the federal came up to $150 million. So as you'll recall, back in June of 2015, there weren't enough votes for that parcel tax to pass. So what happened is the project had to be revisited, and at that time, when the project was revisited, thank you, Neil, the amount was increased from $150 million up to $200 million, and as Neil said, that was for the expanded service and improved capacity. So when you're looking at this new funding mechanism change, the changes that I want to point out is that parcel tax was removed, and that state funding of $10 million was removed. In place of that was state cap and trade funds, we refer to as TIRCP funds. The second change was, you see that West Sacramento, there was initially $25 million set aside from West Sacramento. That got bumped up to $35 million. And then the federal funding increased by $25 million. So the total funding at this point in time, there's $175 million. $200 million is needed for that project. And you can see at the bottom of the chart, there's Prop 1A funds that could be used to complete this project at $200 million. And I would like to point out that from a Prop 1A standpoint, these funds do meet the grant requirements.
Could we just add something really quickly to that? On the parcel tax, even though it's no longer part of the capital outlay, parcel tax is moving forward for operations. So I don't know.
Good point.
Yep. It's coming, but I think it's important that the business community downtown is still willing to do that, assuming that it passes. And that's next month.
That's a good point. Yep, all these slides are just talking about the capital side, but thank you for that clarification. Yep. So the next topic I'd like to talk about is the grant requirements about Prop 1A, as this was discussed in the last board meeting. The initial requirements required that the owner of the funds use these funds for interconnectivity of future high-speed rail. That was later revised to expand, and that expansion allowed it for relocation costs linked with the existing light rail track, passenger platforms, associated systems, and construction costs associated with the streetcar project. And then the last 2 points I'd like to point out are in kind of smaller print, but this Prop 1A funding does require a 50% local match before you can begin, and there's no expiration on that Prop A1 funding. Now that I've covered the requirements, I'm going to turn this back to Neil, and he's going to talk about some of the project use pros and cons.
Thanks, Frank. As for pros and cons, there are several pros and one major con that we are going to look at. Some of the pros, the downtown riverfront streetcar project is a high priority project for this region, for the Sacramento region. RT would be recognized as a reasonable regional partner for contributing to the project shortfall. The streetcar would be an economic generator for both cities of Sacramento and West Sacramento. During this process, we've been able to work with the city of Sacramento, and through those negotiations, the city of Sacramento is committed to assisting with the Sacramento Valley Station Loop and Storage Track relocation projects, as well as committed to modifying the 1985 Operations Maintenance Agreement to establish a more equitable relationship between us and the city. However, staff is concerned that the flexible funding could be utilized on other RT projects if or when funding match is available. With that, be glad to take questions.
Okay, so so that's it for the staff report then, correct? Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I do have a number of requests to speak on this item. So questions before, so Director Budge?
Just a brief question, for whoever, when the, thinking of the loop to the main train station, when that goes from north-south to east-west, then how do people get from Amtrak to light rail and vice versa?
I think we'd like Mark Lonergan to, from an operational standpoint, to answer that. Thanks, Mark.
So that connection has changed from when we opened the station. When the tunnel was put in and the Capitol Corridor tracks, the passenger rail tracks were moved out into kind of the center of the rail yards, and the city built the tunnel to connect that. We lost the platform-to-platform connection, which was very convenient. Now people have to walk around to the tunnel. The path to get to those to that platform, when we reorient the tracks to that north-south orientation from its current east-west, as the worst case, will be just a little bit further walk to the entrance to the tunnel. But I think it's unclear what path of travel will exist in the developed rail yards. So I can't say that there may not be a closer way to get to the platform. But the worst case is that whatever that shift in distance is, basically from where it's going to be basically from where the platform is right now to something just a little bit to the east and of 5th Street and north of H Street would be in addition to the walk. So it's going to add some walking distance is the short answer.
That's too bad.
Yes. And our actual location in the rail yards has not been pinned down yet because the rail yard master planning process is still going on.
Linkage is a good thing.
It is, yes, it is, absolutely. And as I say, hopefully as that develops, there might be a shorter path of travel, but we'll have to see.
I'm just thinking of the term multimodal, Mark. If you don't have multi-modes, then it's hard to say you're multimodal.
Well, all the modes are there. It's just convenience.
Just where they are.
It's convenience.
Okay, any other questions, staff, before I get to request to speak on this item? Okay, so with that, got about 10 or so here, so we'll start with Helen. If we can get Helen a microphone there, and after Helen is Russell Rawlings, followed by Russell is Sarah Kerber. Good evening again, Helen.
Good evening, this is Helen O'Connell. I'm part of the MAC board, RT MAC board, and I'm also part of True and Dogfight, which is disability organization group for initiating total equality. And I'm concerned that the 1A money that has been sort of earmarked for this streetcar could, it's discretionary funds if I'm not mistaken, and they could be used to bring back prior service levels so that everybody could benefit from the bus system in a little better way. I think that the streetcar is a good idea, but I think going out to the airport and reintegrating service would trump a streetcar. There's other ways to get to West Sac, and it seems like it's just a narrow viewpoint, and I'd like to see that they widen the viewpoint, because we need the access to our city more than we do going over to West Sac at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. And I'll just ask staff to take some notes here as far as the commentary and questions so we can address those after the series.
Just one
okay.
very simple clarification. This fund is for the capital projects, cannot be used for operational.
Okay.
So
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Henry. So Russell, where's...
that is the capital.
Good evening again, Russell.
Hello, my name is Russell Rawlings. I am a member of Sacramento Transit Riders Union. I'm also president of Dogfight, and I'm going to share my concerns that Helen offered and add a few. There was raised the point that moving the light rail off of K Street was in an effort to make it more pedestrian friendly. I would argue that the worst thing that's been done to K Street that's made it pedestrian unfriendly was the reintroduction of car vehicles and not the light rail. In fact, light rail and the streetcar can share the same tracks, so I'm not exactly certain why we've designed this whole thing with the intention of moving light rail up to H Street, where there's a lower density of workplaces that riders from the region would be traveling to. A lot of this just doesn't make sense. I realize that the Prop 1A funding would be limited, but I think that 30 million gets us a lot further toward getting the light rail quickly out to the airport and through to Thomas, which is an area that desperately needs transit connectivity. And the streetcar project just, I mean, it's something that can be done, I think, a lot simpler. Just lay some track out to West Sacramento and integrate with what we have now. It seems like it makes a lot more sense. It's future-proof. Light rail could go all the way into West Sacramento further and even maybe further into the region. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Russell. So Sarah Kerber, followed by Sarah Stephen Barassa, and then Gregory Thompson.
Hi, Sarah Kerber with Sacramento Transit Riders Union. As was established earlier in this meeting and at the last board meeting, the Prop 1A funding is flexible, and we think that there are projects within RT that could benefit a larger group of riders and should be prioritized for this funding. We request that RT staff provide an analysis and a list of capital projects and other potential uses for the Prop 1A funding that the board could discuss and review and be able to choose the project that they think would benefit the most riders within the current system. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Stephen, good evening, Stephen.
Hello, I'm Stephen Barassa. I'm the chair of the Transportation Committee for ION Sacramento. Sacramento got on board with a $3 million funding, and I applaud their wisdom in safeguarding that money, not spending that money until certain factors were in place. They could withdraw their financial commitment if the city decided not to go forward with the project, or number two, the vote of the people does not support the project, or three, the state does not commit funds, or four, the federal grant is not approved. That way they didn't throw money into a deep dark hole where it could be safeguarded to be spent on other things. And as we've seen with the funding package for this project, it's been a mosaic of different funding patterns, and it still continues. In the latest one of the BJAC articles in the Sacramento Bee, they pointed out that they saw a reduction in the commitment for federal funds from 75 million now down to 50 million. So the local match is already there for the project at the $50 million level. Now this grant they must have a full funding agreement in place by September to catch this FY17 funding package, 50 million, or it goes away. It's contingent, in this article, they point out that it's contingent with the landowner vote. So it's very significant because they have to demonstrate that they can pay the operations and maintenance for this project. There's a lot of talk about the match for the capital side, but this is a critical factor. And we've done a lot of research, looking at the formation of the CFD, and it's troubling to say the least. Howard Jarvis wrote a letter, and a copy was distributed to you. They sent it to the mayor and to the city, and also we sent a copy to the County Board of Supervisors. But it does raise some considerable legal questions, and it's something to consider. If the landowners vote for this, some of the earliest expenses will probably be legal expenses. Another troubling feature about this landowner vote that this whole thing hinges on is it really seems a little unscrupulous in the way the zoning has been laid out. Zone 1 is in the hotbed like K Street, but the further you go out to Zone 4 is the rail yards. This is a landowner vote is voted by acreage, 1 acre per vote. The rail yards is included. It doesn't receive any streetcar service other than the streetcar going to the train station, yet they have 185 votes, which is over half of the entire vote for this zone. So it's, it's a very gerrymandered, is that what they call it, to the extreme. And I think there's other inconsistencies as well that I won't illuminate now. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. Gregory? Good evening, Gregory.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm Greg Thompson, also in Sacramento, and I wish to speak against the proposed relocation of light rail from the K Street Mall to H Street. The proposed relocation of the Blue Line from K Street Mall to H Street will degrade its service, making trains as much as 15 minutes late during Golden 1 events. This is because Blue Line trains will be forced to use 7th Street as they travel south from H to J. This section of 7th Street currently is backed up with auto traffic during Golden 1 events, making it nearly impassable to light rail trains. Currently, only Gold Line trains are caught in this traffic quagmire. Gold Line trains enter 7th from H and attempt to proceed south. During Golden 1 events, the police direct 2 lanes of southbound auto traffic on 7th Street to turn left at J. Much of this traffic is directed right onto the light rail tracks on the eastern side of 7th Street, and the light rail service there is barely moves. I myself have been trapped on Gold Line trains for up to 15 minutes as they lurch forward a few feet at a time just to traverse these 2 blocks from H to J, waiting for autos ahead of them to turn left. Currently, the Blue Line escapes this traffic blockage because it enters 7th Street from K Street Mall, which is a block south of the I Street choke point. It's as though the city intelligently planned the existing Blue Line to get passengers close to where they want to go, while also keeping the trains out of paralyzing auto congestion. It turns out, however, that by relocating Blue Line service from the K Street Mall to H Street, the city not only will take passengers away from where they want to go, but it also will subject the trains and the passengers to lengthy auto congestion delays. By the way, I wanted to point out that the proposed streetcar also will be forced into this 2-block traffic blockage on 7th between H and J. If the streetcar is built and the Blue Line is detoured onto H Street from the mall, you will have a situation where all rail transit service in the downtown will be brought to its knees every time there is a Golden 1 event. This is no way to build a strong transit system for the Sacramento region, and it is no way to serve downtown either. So don't do it. Don't remove the Blue Line from K Street, and don't build the streetcar. Thank you.
Thanks, Gregory. Okay, Jim Cathcart, followed by Delphine Cathcart, and after Delphine is Jeffrey Tardigia. Good evening, Jim.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm James Cathcart. I live at 1418 19th Street. And tonight I want to talk about the commitment of the $25 million funding to close that portion of funding to match the federal grant. I believe it to be inappropriate to take $25 million or any portion thereof of Prop A money to assist in the funding of the streetcar project for the following reasons. 1. RT is cash strapped and needs the fund for its own delayed projects. RT has many needs to be met, and this would deny them the use of $25 million plus any leveraged funds that come as a result of the $25 million. 2. The streetcar project is largely to the benefit of the Central Business District, Central City of Sacramento, and portions of West Sacramento. I note that the City of Sacramento has only committed a few $1 million, while the City of West Sacramento has committed $35 million, and the Central Business District has committed none. If the City of Sacramento and Central Business District need to shoulder the monies necessary to complete the necessary local match, not RT, who needs to serve its ridership. 3, as you know, the $30 million contribution of landowners adjacent to the streetcar was voted on and overwhelmingly defeated. We were pleased to be a part of that campaign, by the way. RT monies should not be used to replace landowner monies. It's just plain wrong. 4, the streetcar project is entirely counterproductive to RT's ridership and revenue goals and will delay, oops, I got my wrong. Whoops. I guess I didn't pick up my second page.
Missing a page, you'll have to improvise, huh?
Anyway, we believe it's totally counter to its revenue and ridership goals, and that the money could be better utilized furthering those goals. Again, we don't think that the city of Sacramento and landowners are paying their fair share, and we don't see that RT should be holding the bag, because the bag that ultimately will be holding are its riders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Delphine. And after Delphine is Jeffrey Tartagia, and after Jeffrey is Dennis Neufeld.
Good evening, Board.
Good
I'm Delphine Cathcart. I'm here as an individual and a citizen. And I'm here to talk about item 11. As we all know, RT has been nearly insolvent. Because of the financial insecurity, it has been forced to impose some of the highest fares in the nation. As we all know, high fares in turn discourage ridership. The streetcar project is counterproductive to RT's ridership and revenue goals. RT's Prop 1A money should remain with RT, where RT can use it to leverage and get matching funds for urgent needs and capital expenditures, such as getting the RT into a state of good repair. For example, replacing their aged fleet of 90 light rail cars with low-floor cars. The low-floor cars make boarding easier, particularly useful for seniors, handicapped, bicyclists, and families with children. Low-floor cars also reduce trip time because they stay at people get on and off them sooner, so they spend more time in motion. And low-floor cars make schedules more reliable. Our team must take care of its own urgent needs for capital improvements before giving $25 million to the streetcar project. Thank you.
Thank you, Delphine. Jeffrey, then Dennis, and Coco Cocazella.
Well, per the last board meeting, when Steve extended me the invitation to the streetcar steering committee, I was expecting to hear about the low car procurement. Suddenly I found there's $200 million on the show projects, and you're seeking all the funding for it, and you've met with the FBA, and you've met from the FTA, and you've had conferences, and there's a half a dozen RT people there, including Tim. But anyway, hi, Tim. I want to make sure you heard the conversation. But anyway, question I will go back to Jay is hey, once again, downtown, $6 million was spent to improve various light rail stations. You have yet, and you've had on the shelf, needing the ramps to be at I-80 to replace the elevators. There's a good place to spend the money so it's not downtown, and it improves the things. I've been at the environmental reports for this. I was at the environmental reports for the Capitol Corridor when going up to Roseville. It went from $200 million to $300 million. As you've seen, this project has gone from $100 million and is now $200 million. I do not believe that the cars and the proposed system has Wi-Fi capability, has routers in the vehicles so that the Connect card would remove and limit the percentage cost, and the fares have not even been discussed that I'm aware of in any of the proposals. We're just funding a capital project. We think RT should operate it, and we have no idea, except for 1/3 and 2/3 is the agreement that's been broken out. So I will certainly be at the next meeting in the July to see what's going on. But I hope for Patrick Kennedy over here that perhaps there's a better way and a better funding that the Sacramento Transit Agency will embark on. And since they have the Caltrans, which is a necessary need for the project out at I-80, the elevators and changes through there, that should be a fix-it project that has been avoided for too long. In regards to this, until I was downtown, which March Madness showed exactly the type of issues that previously has been talked about in as far as going through and relocating in the other areas. Oh well, we'll say that no, as much as I would love to see a light rail that goes through there, that piece of the slough area that is just west of the bridge is private property. The only part of that area that's private property. So it's interesting to see how you propose going up.
Thanks, Chip. Dennis Neufeld, and after Dennis is Coco. Evening, Dennis.
Board members, I'm the treasurer for Ion Sacramento, and we work with numbers on occasion and put out reports on various issues. We put out a report a couple years ago on the streetcar, the convention center, and so on. But I'd like to go over just briefly some of the numbers that your staff pointed out. 150 million. Earlier, 2 years ago, we had 25 million committed by West Sacramento, 7 million by Sacramento. West Sacramento is roughly 10% of the population of Sacramento. The numbers were increased, but Sacramento was going to put in 30 million earlier, based upon the getting bond money with the vote, which failed back in June of 2015. So in effect, after that vote, they still only had 7 million committed to this project. Now we move forward, fast forward to today, we have 200 million in the budget. West Sacramento has kicked in now, committed 35 million. Again, we see City of Sacramento 7 million. So they're putting in 5 times the amount of this city, getting 1/3 of the tracks and our 10% of the population. What's wrong with this picture? So what we're seeing here is now RT has now become the fall guy, so to speak, the funding fall guy for these shortfalls from the City of Sacramento. So why should RT pick up the funding shortfalls for the skinflints east of the river? It really comes down to, you've got to say, they've got to pick up their weight. And now we have a new vote coming up here shortly. It's going to be for operations and maintenance. It doesn't even cover bonding money like the earlier vote was going to do 2 years ago. So the point here is Sacramento's got to carry more weight before you take any of this 21 million that is your money for more than just one purpose, and you need it for a lot more higher priority issues than this particular project. And there's a lot of reasons not to support this project, but that's one final point here is that so far the federal folks are going to kick in 50 million. Now that's 50 million short of the current budget for 200 million. I think you should not commit any of this 21 million until you make sure that back in Washington, D.C., they find that other 50 million and commit it to this project. So I would say you can just park that 21 million if you have to spend this for this project and not commit any of it until at least you find out what happens in Washington, D.C. There's a lot of moving parts back there, as we all know. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Coco?
Thank you. My fellow citizen advocates have been very eloquent and provided some really compelling arguments and qualitative as well as data-driven and research-driven. So please hear them. Please consider what you've heard. I don't have too much to add on except to say that I also am concerned about the factors of prioritizations for discretionary capital funds. And when this was discussed earlier by the gentleman who was advocating for the streetcar, or at least giving some information about why it's going to be interesting, regarding bringing revenue to the downtown area, et cetera, I hear a lot of things about disruptions of current paradigms, you know, moving light rail from one street to the next, and additions here and there, and not being clear about some of the connections at the rail yards and stuff like that. What I'm curious about is what alternatives have been considered that are less expensive for getting traffic back and forth between us and West Sac. It just seems like there's a lot of questionable reasoning about some of the things that are stated that have to be done in order to accommodate this. And I'm thinking there just has to be other transportation discourse or transit discourse that isn't as complexicated or disruptive. So that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Coco. Okay, that concludes requests to speak on this item. So we'll just, at this point, open it up for board discussion questions. And I suppose just I'll lead it off with just one quick one. As far as moving forward here, is there, you know, a plan as far as when we would actually vote on taking action on this, or is that still a little nebulous at this point?
You mean RT has to make the move, or
Yeah,
project
when would
itself?
the board actually, this is informational, we're gonna just ask
Well-
questions and get more information here, but when would we actually?
We preliminarily, we plan to bring this back to the board on June 12th meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, okay, so with that, Director comments and questions, start off with Director Natoli.
Yeah, I just have a question for information. It was suggested from the dais, and it, I think it was pointed out in the staff analysis that touched on. I guess I'd like to know a little more concretely the projects that you talked about a little bit in the staff report, certainly about the loop and funding there, but where else, consistent with the scope that these monies might be available for? And again, it's still contingent upon having, obviously, that match money, and so recognizing some of the budget constraints that we've had over time, I don't need to have it for tonight's purposes, but I would like to have that information for our consideration. You certainly can point it out tonight, it might be helpful to others in the audience, but that would be useful to know, because at least it gives us some idea. Obviously, it's been 10 years plus of discussion and planning and some advancement relative to the funding for this project, but I'd like to know, again, we're in a different spot than we were in 2005. There's no question about that. We're better in lots of ways, but we're also different, and I want to know where we are with a system that, for capital standpoint, all the conversation we had in this room over the last few years about fix it first and doing things that would invest in our current system, certainly would have a vision looking ahead, and I think your strategic plan offered us a good outline for both fixing what we have but looking ahead. But this is money we know we have available, and again, without speaking out against the streetcar project in any way, I think it's important to know. I want to make a conscious decision when I'm called upon to vote on this, and that would be useful for purposes, I think, for our consideration.
Sure. Thanks, Don. Other board member commentary, comments? Director Miller?
I had a quick question, and I'm sure I'm going to get briefed on this later, but the source of the Prop 1A funds, who controls those? Is that RT controls those, or does SACOG control that? Is it our money, or is it SACOG's?
RTs.
So,
yes.
What's holding us back? Local matching funds to spend that $25 million?
Right.
So we, in essence, we're not committing 25, we're giving up 25 million.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay.
However you want to look at it. The other thing that concerns me is this Joint Powers Authority, which doesn't exist now, and we're designing, procuring, running the system with this, in an agreement with this JPA, and we don't have an agreement with the JPA. It doesn't exist yet. So I'm a little concerned we're getting ahead of the train here, the streetcar.
Thanks, Steve. Any other questions? Director Budge?
Briefly, when staff returns with the information that's been requested, could we make sure we distinguish between what Prop 1A funds can actually be used for? Capital improvement, but does that mean only capital improvement for something new, or capital improvement for replacement? So, that could be a part of the next discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we do have lots of information ready.
Yeah, I won't present it today, but I can just kind of give you an idea. I was having a feeling this might come up. We have about 131 projects in our CIP. About 22 are partially funded and about 60 are unfunded. So what we'll do is we'll go through that list, and we've already started doing that and identifying these projects, and I think that will be helpful for you to see.
Okay.
But I do want to stress one point
I'm sorry,
is
Brent, say that again. 131 projects.
in our CIP, 22 are partially funded and 6 are unfunded. And then what we have to do from that is go through those unfunded and partially funded projects and look at the type of project and look at the requirements to see if it could be used for that purpose. And I know someone has mentioned operational, and we have to be careful. This is for capital construction related to rail and related to high-speed rail. So there's some more narrow points that we have to kind of address.
Only related to rail.
Yes, to the high-speed rail. Yeah, connectivity with the high-speed rail. We can even bring the exact language. I have it here. I could read it to you, or I could bring it at the next report.
No, it's not actually only related to rail. It's just to support the connectivity for the high-speed rail.
Okay, questions, comments, or requests for information to come back when this gets back to us? So I guess all I would add is these are, I understand the nature of trying to build funding strategies for projects, and it's one thing usually does get ahead of the other by necessity almost. But if we could also address, if possible, again, looking at this $200 million, if there's cost escalation beyond that, where does that come from? And I know MOUs are being built and things like that. So if we could, I figure that question will probably come up at some point. I'm just looking at my notes here. Yeah, I think that's all I had, in addition to what's been requested. So, all right. So seeing no other requests to speak on this item. So June 12th looks like that'll be our potential budget adoption and also return of this. So that should be a lively meeting. Let's see. That's next item, please.
Item number 12, Paratransit Inc. Board of Directors meeting. You have a written report in your board package if Director Hume has anything to add.
Director Hume nods.
Okay, item number 13, Sacramento-Placerville Joint Powers Authority meeting. Director Budge has provided a written summary, which I passed out earlier. If she has anything to add.
So we handed it out, just information about the two main topics, which were the retirements and then the budget. Unless Supervisor Natoli and John Dara have anything else to add.
It was really quick. We only met this morning at 10 o'clock.
I know. Director Budge is very quick.
Get it off.
Wow.
Get it off
Wow.
my plate.
That's impressive. All right. Great.
And that concludes any reports or ideas that I have, unless any.
Okay, any other director commentary? All right. Thanks, everyone. Meeting adjourned.